The Home Secretary comes here today sounding rather pleased with herself. I'm afraid she has no reason to. A year ago, she promised to smash the gangs. She said again and again that was her plan. Indeed, it was her only plan. Yet today, there is no mention of what was once her favourite catchphrase. That is because her claim to smash the gangs has become a joke, an embarrassment to her and to the government. Now, we look warned that law enforcement alone would not be enough. So did the National Crime Agency. But she didn't listen. And what then happened? The 12 months following July the 5th last year have been the worst such period in history for small boat crossings. 44,359, up 40% year on year. The first 13 days of July this month have also been the worst in history. 2,510 in less than 2 weeks, up 213% year on year. And this calendar year so far has been the worst in history as well, up 57% on last year. Madam Deputy Speaker, she is setting records, just all the wrong ones. These boat crossings are now the worst ever. Does she accept that she has lost control of our borders and she is failing in her most basic duty to protect the United Kingdom? Now, she says she has a new deal with France. Yet President Macron says this needs EU agreement. Is this true? Does it need EU agreement? And if so, have they provided it? And a deal must of course involve an agreed number. Yet when the Home Secretary is asked, she is unable to say what numbers are involved. Will she now come clean and tell Parliament what number, if any, has been agreed? And if there is no agreement with the EU and no agreed number as part of this deal, then there is no deal at all, just vacuous spin. Now, the only number we have seen reported is just 50 illegal immigrants a week. This was put to the Prime Minister last Thursday, and he did not deny it. Now, 50 a week represents only 6% of illegal arrivals, meaning 94% could stay. Does she seriously think that allowing 94% of illegal immigrants to stay will be any kind of deterrent? Her claim to smash the gangs was a gimmick, and so is her 6% returns deal. The truth is this: the only way to fix this is to remove every single illegal arrival as soon as they get here, without judicial process, either to their country of origin or to a third country. That would be a real deterrent. We saw this approach work in Australia about 10 years ago. And such a scheme, I'm glad the Honourable Member mentions that, such a scheme for the UK was ready to start in July of last year. The previous government had done all of the legal and logistical work needed. All she had to do was press go. But she and the Prime Minister cancelled it just days before it was due to start, and as a result, we now see record numbers crossing. Will she now admit she made a terrible mistake, and will she now start a proper 100% removals deterrent? Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, the damage done by illegal immigration at this scale is immense. Far from closing asylum hotels as they promised, there are now nearly 3,000 more people in asylum hotels than at the time of the last election. And I have personally witnessed rampant illegal working from the very hotels that she runs. I saw Deliveroo, Uber Eats and Just Eat bikes in the compound of an asylum hotel whose residents have no right to work. Will she at least commit today to ending illegal working from the very hotels that she runs? And we see reports of migrants based in hotels being charged with serious crimes, including rape and sexual assaults on women and children. Louise Casey has warned that a significant proportion of sexual offences are committed by those seeking asylum. Cases like 29-year-old Afghan Sadiq Nikzad, convicted of raping a 15-year-old girl. His defence counsel claimed he did not understand this was wrong due to cultural differences. This madness has to stop. The Home Secretary cancelled a proper deterrent plan just days before it was due to start. Her claim to smash the gangs lies in tatters. She has presided over the highest number of illegal small boat crossings in history. Will she now apologise to the House and to the country for her appalling failure?
Home Secretary.
Well, Madam Deputy Speaker, the Shadow Home Secretary just wants to pretend that the last 8 years never happened.
It's the worst ever now.
He knows that this crisis, this small boats chaos, went on for 340 weeks under the Tories. A period in which, when he was Immigration Minister, overall migration near trebled and small boat crossings increased tenfold when he was the Immigration Minister in charge. And during the 340 weeks that the Tories were in charge when this happened, 128,000 people crossed the Channel. How many were returned to France? 0. How many were sent to Rwanda? Well, he said himself it was 0 because he didn't even want to count the 4 volunteers. And, he keeps saying, that somehow it was ready to start. If it had been ready to start, they wouldn't have called the election. They would have actually introduced the scheme that, in fact, had been running for more than 2 years at the cost of £700 million with just 4 volunteers sent. I can also tell him that since the election, this government has returned over 35,000 people who have no right to be here, and that is a 24% increase in enforced returns compared to the last year that his party was in charge. It is a 28% increase in failed asylum returns compared to the last year that his party was in charge. And as for agreement with France, that he doesn't seem to want to talk about very much, I actually asked him about exactly this when I was Home Affairs Select Committee Chair and he was the Immigration Minister back in 2020. And I specifically asked him, what chance do you put on being able to get a bilateral agreement, say with France, for them to take back people who have arrived here from France? And he said, 5 years ago, that's what he was working on. Indeed, he told the committee, one of our priorities will be to reach those agreements, and it is, I think, strongly in the French national interest to agree such a returns agreement. That gives me significant cause for optimism. Well, turns out he should have been optimistic about the return of a Labour government reaching an agreement where he failed. Here's what he also said. He said, we intend to return as many illegal immigrants who have arrived by small boats as possible. We have flights planned in the coming days to return these individuals back to France, and we will be looking to ramp up this activity. Well, that was 5 years ago. Flights never went. The activity was never ramped up. The Shadow Foreign Secretary tried to return people to France. The Shadow Justice Secretary tried to return people to France. The Shadow Justice Secretary even called for the UK to, quote, take 1 asylum seeker from France in return for every 1 illegal migrant that we return to them. Or indeed, more than 1. He said more than 1. And as for interception in shallow waters, he said when he was Immigration Minister, some boats that are just 250 yards away from the French coast have just not been stopped by the authorities. This must change. I agree. But that was 5 years ago, and he didn't change a thing, because they never understood that you don't change things just by jumping up and down and shouting about them. It needs partnership working and hard graft. That's what this government has done.